Bob Goff took on a hiking trip with his son Charlie. They were going to scale Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest peak in Africa, at over 16,000 feet. You want to go along? He says, people have asked me what the views were like going up to Kilimanjaro. He says, I don't know. The whole way up, I kept my eyes fixed on the guide's boots. I never looked up. A few times when he went over a rock, when I would have rather gone around it, I went over a rock. When he went around a rock, when I would have rather gone over it, I went over it. I did what he did. And here's what I've learned. When you have a guide that you trust, you don't have to worry about what path you're on. It's the same lesson he says I've been learning about Jesus. I'm just trying to follow love's lead. Every few minutes my guide would say to me, Bob, pull, pull. I asked him what this meant. In Swahili, pull, pull means slowly, slowly. I can't fly. He said, that's hard advice for a guy who does everything fast. It's hard advice to receive. It's even harder advice to follow. By the end of the first day, as I lay down in my tent, sore and beat up with every muscle on fire, I understood why he had been saying, pull, pull. It's hard to walk with Jesus and run ahead of him at the same time. Yet Bob says, I've been doing that my whole life. I wonder about you. He says, what I learned from our guide is I can either run fast or I can get to the top of the mountain, but I can't do both. We need to decide the same with our faith. It's easy to confuse busyness with progress and accomplishments with pleasing Jesus. Every day we have to decide whether we're really following Jesus or just treating him like some Sherpa carrying our stuff. And so I wonder about you. Are you really following Jesus? Going where he wants you to go, going at the pace he wants you to run it? Or are you treating him like your personal Sherpa, loading up your life with all kinds of things, expecting him to help you carry them and to carry you through them? You know, in Jesus' day, there was something called walking in rabbi's dust. What that meant was a disciple walked so closely behind his master that you were actually covered, literally caked with the dust off your master's feet. If you were not covered with the rabbi's dust, it meant that you were too distracted or that you were walking too far away. I wonder if this is not what many people are with Jesus today. They're not covered with his dust because they're distracted by many things, and those many things are the very things that are distancing them from him. You see, living without margin, failing to walk in Jesus' dust is like running out of gas. I don't know if you've ever had that experience or not. The same reasons that you run out of gas can be the same reasons that get you overwhelmed in life. Why do people run out of gas? Well, let's think of some reasons. One would be not starting with a full tank. I mean, that should be rather obvious. If you don't start out with a full tank, and if you don't keep filling up that tank, eventually you're going to run on empty. That's why you need to take time every day to fill your tank emotionally and spiritually. Another reason could be you're unaware of the leaks that are draining you. When you don't take time to get filled, you may not even be conscious that there are leaks that are going on in your life, draining you, causing you to run out and run down. Two of the biggest leaks in life could be relationships and responsibilities. Now, you need to have relationships. That's a good thing. And you need to be responsible. That's an even better thing. But some relationships will sap your energy. They will take away your strength that you need for walking with Jesus. And so can some responsibilities. The more responsibilities, if you load your life up with responsibilities, the more leaks, the the more you're going to drain your tank. Another thing that can get you in trouble is when you ignore the owner's manual and you push yourself further than you were designed to go. Your gas tank only holds so much fuel. And so, thinking that maybe it holds more fuel than it really does means that you're probably going to exceed the capacity of your tank and you're going to run out eventually. If you ignore what the manual tells you, you're going to end up stuck somewhere. People everywhere are ignoring God's manual for life. In other words, what we call the Bible. They're trying to push themselves further than God created them to go, further emotionally, further physically, pushing their relationships even in ways that are dangerous and harmful. They're dying spiritually and in every other way, because that's what happens when you refuse to live within your limits. When you think your tank is bigger and stronger than it actually is. And here's another thing. Not watching your gauges. You know, you have all kinds of gauges to tell you how your car is performing. Do you know what all those gauges in front of you really are and what they're for? That could be a problem if you don't know that. There's the speedometer. Now, I bet most of you know what that's for. That's to tell you how fast you're going. Is yours ever going faster than that number they have along the road there somewhere? Your tachometer tells you that your RPMs, that your crankshaft maybe is moving too fast and you need to switch gears before you overheat. And your odometer tells you how long it's been since you had your last servicing. Your oil pressure gauge tells you whether you have enough oil lubricating your engine. And your temperature gauge tells you whether you're running too hot, too cold, or just right. And your battery light, well, if that comes on, that tells you you probably need to get your battery taken care of. If you don't pay attention to your gauges, you can get in trouble real quick. Some of you need to watch your sleep gauge. You're not getting enough sleep, and that's a warning light. Irritability, that's a gauge too. If you're going too fast and too far, it's going to affect the other people around you. When you're running around feeling anxious, that's another indicator that you're pushing yourself in the wrong way. So what are your life gauges telling you? And how are they affecting your walk with Jesus? Then one more. The faster you drive, the faster you run out of gas. No wonder your miles per gallon is going way down. It's been proven that aggressive driving, speeding up, rapid acceleration, frequent braking can lower your gas mileage 15 to 30% at highway speeds and 10 to 40% while you're in traffic. Your miles per gallon goes down rapidly the more you go over 50 miles per hour. You see, hurry depletes you. It depletes your emotions, it depletes your spirit, your energy, it affects your body, it has you accelerating right past the people who are in your life. The people you say that are important to you, you don't have time for them. When you're speeding through life, your RPMs will have everything else racing out of control. When you put your pedal to the metal, you're setting yourself up to be burnt out, stressed out, overloaded. And what's important gets lost in the rush. Like Dallas Willard told John Ortberg, you must ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life. Are you doing that? You see, running on empty is going to be your default position in life unless you learn what keeps your tank full. Empty is what will happen unless you intentionally commit to filling your tank. What does that? Well, Jesus tells us. This is what he says in Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 through 30. He says, if you're tired from carrying heavy burdens, come to me, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your soul. For the yoke that I share with you is easy to wear, and the load is light. Jesus says, if you're tired, and here's the first thing you have to be willing to do. He says, if you're tired, are you really tired of it? Are you ready to commit yourself to change? Tiredness should tell you something. Are you dissatisfied and tired of living on empty? Are you ready to change? And will you commit yourself to change? That's the even bigger question. Nothing in your life ever changes until you're tired of doing it your way and you're ready to do it Jesus' way. In studies that have been done on committing to change, it's been discovered that most people don't do what they know they need to do in order to change. People understand that if you don't stop drinking, if that's a problem with you, then you're going to die. Or if you don't stop smoking, if that's a problem for you, then you're going to die. Or if you don't change your diet now, you're going to die. Or if you don't slow down the pace of your life, you're going to die. The studies prove that most people choose to risk death and just keep doing what they've always done, the things that are destroying their lives. In a world where we have the technology to do heart valve replacements and bypasses, people continually fail to change the behavior that resulted in their surgery to begin with. We have the technology to fix the heart, but we don't have the technology to change the heart. However, God has that. Until you have a heart change, nothing else in your life is really going to change. Most people say they want to change, but they never really intend to change. What is it that makes us want to change? Well, one of the things is pain. Are you hurting bad enough that you're finally willing to say, I'm fed up with the pace of my life, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to change? Something has to change. I'm not going to live this way anymore. Something's going to break if I don't change. If you finally decide to change, then you won't break. Because that's the beginning of a breakthrough for you. Change is a process. It begins with being tired enough to change. I don't know if you remember my life in 5 short chapters. Just in case you don't, I'm going to remind you. Chapter 1. I went out for a walk. I fell in a deep, dark hole. It took me a long time to get out. Chapter 2. I went out for a walk. I fell in the same deep, dark hole. It took me a long time to get out. Chapter 3. I went for a walk. I came across that same deep, dark hole. I walked up to it slowly. I took a look in, and I fell in. It took me a long time to get out. Chapter 4. I went out for a walk. I came across the same dark hole. This time I approached it. I decided not to get too close. Instead, I just walked around. Chapter 5. I went out for a walk, and I went down a different street. Have you gotten to chapter 5 yet? Until you do, nothing changes. Nothing in your life changes until you decide, I want to go down a different street. I want to go down the one that God wants me to go down, not the one I've been going down. And so that means I must then come to Jesus. Jesus uses 3 verbs in this passage. He says, come, take, and learn. He starts with, come to me. Come to me. Bring whatever you have in your life. Bring me the good. Bring me the bad. Bring me the frustrating. Bring me the shameful. Bring me the painful. Bring me the things that are exhausting. Come to me, Jesus says. And here's what I will give you. I will give you rest. So what is the source of your hope? Where are you drawing your strength from? Where do you turn to get your tank filled? He doesn't say, by the way, come to church. Oh, he doesn't say that. He doesn't say, come to religion. You know, that's what a lot of people think Jesus is all about. But that's not it. Don't come to religion. He doesn't say, come to learn more moral principles, more rules for your life. You see, the answer is not a new time management program. It's not a program at all. It's not a philosophy. It's a person. It's not religion. It's a relationship with God himself. That's what God wants most for you. The answer to your stress, the answer to your emptiness, the answer to your pace in life is Jesus. Come to me, he says. I know all about you. I know how your life is supposed to work. And it's probably not the way that you want it to be working. In the Bible, all kinds of people came to Jesus for all kinds of things. Some came for forgiveness. Some for healing. Some for advice. Some came for food even. Some came for doubts, with fears. Many seeking eternal life. Jesus didn't care why they came, as long as they came to him. Jesus doesn't care why you're coming to him, only as long as you come. You can come and say, Lord, I'm wiped out, I'm stressed out, I'm tired, I'm weary, I'm depressed, I'm lonely, I'm bitter, I'm guilty, I'm feeling shame, I'm resentful, I'm envious, I'm unfulfilled, I'm hurting. These struggles. Jesus already knows about that. He doesn't care why you've come. He cares about you and that you do come. He says, whoever comes to me, I will, get this, never reject. You know, sometimes people, you can come to people, even the people that you think care about you the most. But if you come to Jesus, he will never reject you. Come to me, he says. The answer is a person. Come to me, and I will give you rest. In verse 30, he goes even further. He says, I will give you rest for your soul. That's much more than even just the physical rest that you might need. Your problem may not just be tired muscles or something else like that. Your problem is a tired mind, tired emotions, a tired spirit. It may be mostly a spiritual problem. A soul problem. You may need rest for your muscles, but the greater need may be rest for your soul. Rest from the tension. Rest from anxiety. Rest from hurry. Rest from worry. Rest from the expectations of others. Rest from anything that has you running in your own strength rather than walking in Jesus' strength. Notice what Isaiah says here in Isaiah 40:29. He says, he gives power to those who are tired and worn out. He offers strength to the weak. Those who wait on the Lord, they will find new strength. That's the exact opposite of the advice that you get from the world. The world says, when you're empty, here's what you need to do. You need to go, go, go. You just need to fill your life up with this, or more activities, or find more to do. Just be on the go more. You'll fill yourself up. You'll fill yourself up with more that's just going to weigh you right down. That doesn't overcome the emptiness. It just keeps you so busy that you don't have time to think about it. Jesus says, come to me. Come just as you are. He says, this is the Message translation, he says, find a quiet, secluded place so you won't be tempted to role play, to put on an act before God. Just be there as simply and honestly as you can manage. The focus will shift from you to God, and you'll be able to sense his grace. Coming to Jesus gets the focus off yourself. It gets the focus off all the other things that are distracting you, and it gets it onto him. When your focus shifts, your perspective shifts, your walk shifts, your pace shifts. That's his grace at work in you. That brings rest to your soul. That's probably going to mean that you're going to have to give up control of something. This is the real issue many times. we're not giving up control of something in our life to God. That's why we're stressed out. That's why we're so overwhelmed. That's why we take on so much more than God ever intends for us to. We're trying to control everything. When you go around like it depends all on you, the more you have to be in control, then the more stressed out you have to be. I don't know if you've learned this yet or not. I've learned that if I have to control it, it's not probably going to go very well. And my stress level is going to go through the roof. Instead, you need to follow the advice of what for years I thought was just a nice sounding cliche. And we'll come back to this in a minute. Let go and let God. The only thing God wants you to control, by the way, is yourself. And by the way, you need His help to control that too. You can't control people. You can't control the future. You can't control the past. You can't control many of life's situations. The only thing you have is self-control. And that is a fruit of the Spirit, by the way, as well. You need His help. Jesus says, "Come to me and take my yoke upon yourself." Now, a yoke is a wooden frame that fit over the necks of two animals. It was to share the burden and to lighten the load. Jesus says, "Yoke up with me, and it will lighten your load." Now, the New Living Translation says it this way: "My yoke fits perfectly." Jesus knows what fits your shape. A yoke was made to fit just perfectly over the neck and shoulders of oxen. Jesus says, "I have crafted a life just for you. A yoke that's well-fitting, a yoke that perfectly is designed for you." Jesus' yoke for your life, as He says, is not burdensome. It's measured just right. It's a joy to wear a yoke that fits exactly who you are. Jesus' yoke is something He helps you carry. That's because you have His strength and not your own. As you walk with Him, He goes at a steady pace. You will never find Jesus in the New Testament running. Jesus was never on the run. As you walk with Him and wear His yoke, you find rest for your soul. That's why His yoke is easy and His burden is light. The psalmist said, "Pile your troubles on God's shoulders. He'll carry them and help you out." If you're unyoked from Jesus, then that means you don't have what you need to pull the load in life that you have. The fact is, if you're feeling overloaded, if you allow yourself to feel overloaded, that means one thing. That means at that very moment, there's too much weight on your soul, and you're trying to carry it all by yourself. Every time you're detached from Him, you're going to feel that stress of a restless, disconnected soul. So when you start to feel that way, that should tell you something. I'm not walking with my Lord at His pace in the direction He wants me to go. A yoke, you see, is a symbol of control. When you harness two animals together, it doesn't take long for the horse that is being trained to go at the pace of the more experienced horse. Because the more experienced horse, he's thinking to himself, what is this dumb animal over here? He's trying to pull too fast or too hard. If that horse that's being trained starts to go too fast or even too slow, the yoke chafes and he feels the resistance of going at the wrong pace. When I'm yoked with Jesus and I'm moving together in the same direction and at the same pace, then I have rest, His rest in my soul. Jesus' yoke keeps you from going off on your own and getting into trouble. Galatians 5:25 says, "Since we live by the Spirit," that's what we claim if we know Jesus. I live by the Spirit. Well, Paul says, then walk by the Spirit. Let Him lead you at His pace. We are often in a hurry when God's not, about many things. Not only about responsibilities, but about things we want to have happen in our life. I'm in a hurry, Lord. It's got to happen right now. Keeping in step with the Spirit means walking at God's pace at the right speed, at the perfect speed, the speed that will get you across the finish line that God is taking you to. Finish with what He wants to accomplish in your life. In the Message, Romans 3:23 says, our lives get in step. How do they get in step? Paul says our lives get in step with God by letting Him set the pace. So who's setting the pace in your life right now? If you're setting the pace yourself, you're probably sensing that overload, that stress. If Jesus is your pace setter, then the load will be just right, the pace will be just right, and your soul will be at rest. What does it really mean when I'm really trusting God and going at His pace? Just that. Number 4, I learned to trust God with everything. Now notice this to say some things. I learned to trust God with everything. Many of you could probably quote a verse that I'm going to come to here in a moment. But Jesus says in verse 29, He says, learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. If you're learning from Jesus to walk at His pace, to follow His lead, what that means is you're trusting Him. You're letting Him be your model, your guide for life. You're watching, just like Bob did that guide, you're watching how he does it, and then you do the same thing. If you want to live a healthy, balanced, less stressful, restful, purposeful life, then lean on Jesus. Learn from Him. Jews in Jesus' day used the phrase, the yoke, to mean entering into submission to wear Jesus' yoke means you enter into submission to Him. You trust Him completely. You do what He says, and you do what He does, when He says it, when He does it, in the way He says it, the way He does it. You live at a different pace and with a different purpose. The two greatest causes of overload in our lives are aggression and arrogance. Aggression is, I don't want to wait. I want to do it right now. I'm not going to take any other consideration in. I'm just going to jump right in and do it because I feel like it. And so I get overcommitted because I refused to wait. I run ahead of God. Then there's arrogance. An arrogant spirit is, it wants to control everything. I know what's best for me, and by the way, I know what's best for you too. Your ego causes more stress in your life than you can imagine. Just ask somebody who lives around you all the time. It causes all kinds of problems. That's why Jesus says, learn from me. I am gentle and humble. The very opposite of aggression and arrogance. What was Jesus' secret of peace? Well, Jesus simply just did what the Father told him. He says, I tell you the truth, the Son can do nothing by Himself. He can only do what He sees the Father doing. Because whatever the Father does, the Son does that also. That is complete trust in God. That you just do what God does, what He wants you to do. I do what I see the Father doing. In other words, I let go and I let God. Now here's the verse I was talking about earlier that probably some of you could almost quote it. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths. I bet you may be able to quote it. But have you learned to live by that? Notice what comes next. We often don't read the next couple verses. Verses 7 and 8 says, do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord, and shun evil. This will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones. In other words, rest to your soul. Since the Lord is directing your steps, Solomon says a little bit later, why try to understand everything that happens along the way? You know, if you're truly trusting God to direct your steps, why spend all your time trying to figure everything out and just doing what He wants to do at the pace He wants you to do it? Trying to understand everything going on in your life is just going to overwhelm you. So trust God. That means walk at his pace. I follow. I let him control. I rest in him. And so we're going to conclude this morning with Psalm 23 for busy people. Maybe this needs to be your new translation. The Lord is my pace setter. I shall not rush. He makes me stop and rest at quiet intervals. He provides me with images of stillness, which restore my serenity. He leads me in ways of efficiency, through calmness of mind and guidance, his peace. Even though I have a great many things to carry each day, I will not fret, for his presence is with me. His timeliness, his all-importance will keep me in balance. He prepares refreshment and renewal in the midst of my activity by anointing my head with the oils of tranquility. My cup of joyous energy overflows. Surely harmony and effectiveness shall be the fruit of my hours, for I shall walk in the pace of my Lord and dwell in his house forever. Lord, I pray that you will help us see where our lives today are filled with anxiety, where we're overburdened, perhaps overcome with too many things and stressed out. And to see you, Lord, to see Jesus, to look your direction, to hear what you have to say to us, to trust you with our lives, to put things in your hands, maybe even let go of some things that we've been holding on to, and to let you just be God in those areas of our lives. To walk with you at your pace and in your way. To experience the rest that you have for our souls. Oh God, today, if there's anything we need to be in a hurry about, may it be to come to you and to receive what only you have for us. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Would you stand as we sing together?